A woman should be who and what she wants. We support the multifaceted woman. The woman embracing many titles, undertaking different ventures, and building generational wealth. You are a Jackie of all trades, master of your empire. Enterprise Empress, you are an unstoppable force. Welcome back, Empresses, and thank you for tuning in again this week. I am your co-host, Sharon.
Nadie Hornsby on this side.
And we have our certified overcomer, Empress, Dr. Dashia Andrews.
And good afternoon, everyone.
Nadie is normally our Guard Your Genius expert. She comes in at the end of the show and gives you some tips on how to legally protect your brand. Mm-hmm. But today, in Natalie's absence, Nadie is going to be our co-host. So you get 20 minutes of her instead of 2-3 minutes.
So excited. So excited.
So we always like to start off with, where are you from?
With me?
Yes.
Okay. I am from right here, Miami-Dade.
305 in the house.
Born and raised. Very rare.
So everybody knows I'm from, well, if this is your first time, you don't, but I'm from Indianapolis, Indiana. But then my family moved here to Miami. So I've traveled a few places, but this is the place that I call home. So Nadie, where are you from?
Hialeah. So I am absolutely 305, like for real, for real.
So are you trying to say down south isn't 305?
I'm not saying that. I'm just saying I'm from Hialeah, and that has a whole different type of meaning. So
yeah, Hialeah is like its own state within Florida.
Correct.
Understood. Now
I would say country.
Yeah, it's its own country.
I think so.
Nadie, where's your family?
Dominican.
From? You're Dominican,
mm-hmm.
Right?
Both my parents are Dominican.
Both your parents are Dominican.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so Nadie, are you gonna do some Spanglish today?
Maybe not today, but let's pencil that in for a future show.
Sounds good, because we want to cater to all kinds of women. That's what this show is about. So if this is your first time, we call this show Today's Jackie, because we have Jackie of all trades, master of her empire. These are multifaceted women that wear many titles, undertaking many ventures, and building generational wealth. So our Jackie today, Dr. Dashia Andrews, is our overcomer Empress, right?
Wow.
That's what we call you. We do a pre-interview, and just listening to her story, we wanted to highlight how you've gone through so much, but you do not look like what you've been through.
Thank God for that.
Right. So that's what we want to do today, is to tell the ladies out there how to go through all that you go through, yet don't look like what you went through. Like, you don't have to look like you've been through a rough time.
Mm-hmm. And why don't you tell us a little bit about what, that story is?
Right.
And
sure. That story is it goes through many twists and turns, and there are things that people would have considered obstacles, and I've really begun to embrace them as opportunities. But I grew up, like I said, right here in Miami-Dade County. I ended up in foster care when my grandmother passed away at 11 years old, and I bounced around through many, many, many foster homes.
How many?
72 total.
That's incredible.
72 from foster care homes from the time you were
11 till 18.
Right. Stop right there. That in itself is a whole novel.
Yeah.
Literally.
What kept you through all of that?
Really just my grandmother always instilled in me. So my grandmother, we grew up Jehovah's Witness, mm-hmm. and until I, learned about religion and became a Christian myself, that I really lived off of those principles. But my grandmother will always just say, just focus on school. Like, if you could just focus on school, everything else will be okay. And so I just excelled in school. I really, really focused in school. And that's how I kind of escaped everything that I was dealing with. Even when I ran away from foster homes, I never missed school.
So that's why you have...
That's really interesting.
Yeah, if they were really looking for me, they could have found me at school. 7 college degrees, yes.
7 degrees?
7.
I barely made through my bachelor's and master's.
So what degrees do you have?
So I have 2 bachelor's,
mm-hmm.
2 masters, a specialist degree, and 2 PhDs.
And your specialist degree is in what?
It's an ed specialist in leadership.
This is impressive. And let me tell you, a lot of times, sometimes you look at your situation and you're like, how do I get through this? How do I do this? And then you hear someone else's story and it's like, thank you.
Yeah, I'll take the issues that I'm dealing with.
I'll take what I'm dealing with. Thank you, because it could be worse. And the fact that you are here and you are an entrepreneur, and you are a multifaceted woman, right? I don't think you told us your titles, all the different titles you wear. By the way, we normally take pictures with our crown to represent the Enterprise Empress. Deja was like, I'm wearing this the whole show. So tell us what these jewels on your crown represent. What are the titles?
First of all, I'm mother. I'm a mother of 4 beautiful children, 3 that I birthed, 1 that I adopted.
You better come through.
So 4 beautiful kids. Body. Thank you. I am a grandmother of 8 and 1 on the way.
Jesus.
Yes. Does she look like she's a grandmother of 8?
No. I'm trying to look like that as a grandmother.
That knew your birthday. I gave you the remedy. And coconut oil. But I am a grandmother of 8. I am, I really am a fighter for the underdog. So I pride myself on that. I'm a woman who is on purpose. I am a woman of God. I am definitely an entrepreneur. I am right now a regional director in Total Life Changes, which is not an easy feat. But yeah, it's a lot of titles and an overcomer.
So how do you think that like your background and your childhood influenced your decision and informs your decisions now, right? So I cannot imagine 72 foster homes, right? That's 72 different families, that's 72 different stories, right? From that to 7 degrees and entrepreneurship and motherhood and all of that. How do you explain the way that your childhood informed all of that? The future you, the current you.
I honestly, everything that happened in my childhood fueled me. As I would say the most impactful thing was getting pregnant at 13 and having people say, yeah, it's definitely over for her. Like, now you're going to be a baby mama in the projects with God knows how many baby daddies. And this is it. You're going to be a high school dropout. And for me, it was almost like, well, I'm going to show you. I'm going to prove you wrong. I tell people now, when I look back, my degrees were not for me. I loved school and I excelled in school. And that was my escape. It's really how I kept my sanity.
Right.
But going over and beyond, I graduated with all my degrees summa cum laude. Doing that was not for me. Doing that was to show people, like, you see, everything you said I was going to be, I'm not.
And almost like your hiding place, right?
Because it was very much my hiding place.
Right. It was where you excelled and on your own terms.
Yep. It was very much my hiding place. And it was also the place where I felt like, well, if I can just do really good at this and show people that I'm really good at this, maybe they'll see my worth. And maybe then I'll be worthy to receive the love I want to receive or the care I want to receive. So it was an escape. It was a pacifier for a long time.
Right. 7 degrees. Yeah.
It was a pacifier and I would have kept going if they would have kept paying. I would have kept going. I would have got a law degree.
Let me ask if they would have kept paying. Because you hear people say, I don't care what people think. But we really do care what people think. That's why it's so important for us to use our words wisely, because there's power in words.
Yeah.
So you cared what people think and you were determined to prove them wrong.
Yes.
But how do you make sure you don't nurture the pain while growing into who you have become? Because I see a lot of people,
I love that question. I love that.
They keep nurturing and nurturing.
Yeah.
Like you won't let go to move forward and it just keeps pulling you back. Yeah. So how do you nurture that?
I did that for a long time. I nurtured it for a long time. I really, really nurtured the pain for a long time. And that's what drove me. That's what pushed me. And that is what kind of kept me on my toes, right? And it wasn't until school was over, school was done, and they're not paying for any more degrees. And I had to sit with myself. And I had to sit and just really kind of get to know me. outside of school because
that was your identity.
That was my identity. When you're in that hustle and bustle and you're working full time, you're in school full time, you're taking care of kids, you don't have time to think about anything else or to really get to know yourself.
Just getting the job done.
You're just getting the job done. You're kind of like on autopilot at some point. And when school was over, I had to take the time and okay, like I got all this extra time. What do you do with it?
Reflect.
You
what
reflect.
Does all this mean?
And that could be really scary.
Yeah, very scary. Mm-hmm. I'm a journaler, so I've always journaled.
Me too.
I journaled through everything, the good, the bad, the ugly, everything. And I was reading some of my journals from like 1999. And I was like, who is this person? Like, I didn't even recognize who that was.
But isn't that the best part of journaling when you look back and you're like, you see the growth.
You see the growth.
See what has happened. You see the desires. You see the dreams. And then you see the manifestation of those now. And it's like, wow, you spend so much time in the journey worrying about the end result that you forget to enjoy the process and reflect on who you've become, what you've overcome. So I just think it's amazing that you were able to become an entrepreneur after all of that. Because I've known Dashia for a while, and you started off with a nonprofit in Homestead. That's how we met. She always gave back to women. We had a mutual friend, Tanisha, and she said, I know a girl that does grants. She can help you do grants when I got a nonprofit. And Dashia was like, okay, have her call me. And she literally broke down understanding grants to me. And she didn't have to do that. So the fact that you were not selfish about your pursuit, I think, is amazing. But even more, what I want to touch on is you decided to go back into the workforce after being a full-time entrepreneur. And I think that's something I want to talk about, you know, Nady, because right now with the pandemic, it's been hard on business owners. So what is that like to go back into the workforce after being your own boss?
And I'll just piggyback really quick on that, because I think that question is important, because right now so many people are dealing with the shift in career. And so often we end up feeling like a change could be a negative thing, but it doesn't have to be. So how did you navigate that? Because from entrepreneur to employee, that feels on paper like a step back, but it doesn't have to be, right?
It definitely does not have to be. In the beginning, it was a hard decision. But I knew that I only knew what I knew. And I felt like I was leading my nonprofit from my heart. And I went to school for education. So all of my degrees are in education.
Wow. Okay.
And so then I step into this nonprofit world. I had some experience as a principal with a nonprofit, and I was able to see some things, but never like running it. Right. And so then I step into this nonprofit with $0. I used my $33,000 from my savings, started this thing, wrote some grants.
I want you to know that a lot of people don't start off with $33,000 in their savings.
Yeah.
So the fact that you knew how to save that well is also a key point to multifaceted women. Find ways to save so that you have something to invest into your dreams, you know?
Yeah. But I started and I wrote these 2 grants, not anticipating getting the grants. And I went from $0 to over $1 million.
Okay, so wait, stop.
She was the grant.
Let's go back a little bit.
Nady.
From 0 to how much?
To over $1 million. I had $1.6 million between 2 grants for 5 years.
So she had the Children's Trust and the 21st Century Grant, which are 2 of the largest grants for anybody that's in nonprofit in Miami. What was the key to getting
and
that
really
much
difficult
money
to get
in grants?
That's a good. I don't know what it was.
Was it the creative writing? Was it the teamwork?
God's grace.
But specifically, because there are a lot of business owners of nonprofits.
Yes.
What is the key to getting that much in funding through grants?
I think it's innovation. I think it's innovation. I really thought outside of the box. I knew coming from being a principal what I wanted to do with kids and what we were limited in doing in the public school system.
Right.
And I just flipped it. I had in that particular grant, their extracurriculars was a music studio. So to create their own commercials, their own videos, their own albums, and to have kids do them on topics that they wanted to talk about and speak about. And so they did commercials on AIDS. They did commercials on having, incarcerated parents, what that was dealing with, being raised by grandparents, like every type of social issue that you could think of that kids, you might think that, oh, the kids don't really deal with
They
this.
care.
They care. And I let them choose those things.
So you cater to the target audience of the kids you were serving. So you not only use your passions, but you found ways to incorporate their concerns and passions in the actual write-up of your grant program. That's the key.
I think that was
because everybody likes to just take a program and keep trying to get funding just for that program. But sometimes you have to switch up your program depending on the need for that particular year or for those kids that you're serving.
You do. And I think what made my application appealing to funders was because a lot of it was unknown. And I really literally wrote in there, like, I'm not certain what the topics will be that they will create. That's going to come from the students.
So here you are as an adult with this, challenging childhood, pouring into the younger version of you, right? To giving them the outlet and the opportunity that perhaps the adults in your world didn't offer you. So talk about an entire redemption story, right? Because here you are giving back to kids that needed you to.
Yeah, that was always for me, education. I knew I was going to be a teacher from 5th grade. Like, I already knew. Like, I was created to serve, and I was created to be a teacher. I really believe that. And so when I became principal, it's the first time I recognized that everything I had gone through was necessary for the kids that I was serving, because I was principal at an all-girls school. Most of them, lived in foster care. They had been kicked out. It was an alternative school. So they've been kicked out of school. I went through that, being kicked out of school, going to alternative schools.
So they can't tell you don't know what I'm going through.
You cannot say that.
You could relate.
I could relate.
You could relate.
And it made the difference. And that's when I really began to say, dang, Lord, like, I can look back on almost every instance that I went through that I thought was this struggle that was going to break me. Now it's someone else I can help that's in the same situation. And they're going to listen. Because I'm not talking from this hypothetical, theoretical place. It's just, no, I've been there.
They can see themselves in you. And that's what we have this thing that we call womanism. And the ISM on ism is I see me in you. And it's finding projects, passionate projects where you can see yourself in the people that you're serving, because then they'll start to relate to you more because you understand them more. Now, I want to look at some of these comments, Dashia. I see that Butterflies Ministry said, that was a good question, Nady, that you asked her. And I see Sonia Harrington said, what a testimony that God uses to bless others. To God be the glory. I see absolutely awesome. Your pain related to your purpose.
It sure did. It's absolutely a part of my purpose.
And, we try to ignore that because pain is uncomfortable, right? But when you sit in it, you can start to connect the dots of why that had to happen.
Yep. And now I see, like, when things start happening to me, people think I'm crazy sometimes because I'm like, yeah, I'm moving to Atlanta, but I don't have a place yet. But I know it's going to happen because God said go.
Now, Nady says we're the manifestation queen. So
you
that
certainly are.
A lot of manifestation. So whatever you need to speak, it's going to happen because I believe in positive
when I
words.
need something or I want, I know I got to call Sharon. Like, Sharon, can you just talk to the universe? And let it know that I'm trying to work on these things, because when she speaks, I just don't get it.
Let me,
It's not me. That's the power of faith.
Sharon was like, we need a show.
Power of faith.
Come to me.
Here's the show.
That's why you applaud other women.
Don't get fed.
They don't.
If you want something, you have to speak it. Now, let me ask you a question. There are many women who are scared to start over, because you did. You went through 72 foster homes. Went through 7 degrees, so education programs, started a nonprofit, closed a nonprofit, got into insurance, had an insurance business, right? Then you were doing well in insurance and then decided to go back into the workforce, which you didn't just work for a small nonprofit. You worked for the Mourning Foundation, which is Alonzo Mourning, Hall of Famer basketball player Alonzo Mourning, and all of their different programs, Honey Shine, and what is it? OYC, Overtown Youth Center. So for those who are, I want to ask a 2-part question. For those who are afraid to start over, maybe they say, I would never go back into the workforce. Or maybe they say, I don't want to do this. For those who have to do what they said they wouldn't ever do again, what do you say to them?
you have to find the I don't want to say strength. You have to find what in that situation that you can learn from and take with you to the next situation. For me, starting over was about, I knew that there was something I was missing. I just didn't know what it was. And I knew that maybe I could learn that from a job, and even if it was learn the fact that I don't want to be there.
Right. It makes you work even harder when you're not there.
Even harder, right?
Stop complaining.
Yeah, I felt like, man, it's some part of business that I'm missing, right? Because I'm doing this nonprofit thing from my heart, and at the end of the day, it's still a business,
right?
And you can mess up. And so I didn't have a mentor at the time, and for me, I used the job as my mentor. That was my mentor. I went to learn everything that I could in different aspects. And before OIC, I was on an innovation team for Charter Schools USA. And it's the first time I have been on an innovations team. We started a school from the ground up. We created and designed the first innovative school that Charter Schools USA has, and they've been around for 20 years.
Wow.
That innovation team of 9 people, I mean, from the way that the school looks on the inside to the curriculum, to the teachers, it's a complete collaborative school, and it's never been done before. And that took me outside of my box. So I learned so much, in that realm that I was able to take. And then I went to OIC, and I learned so much from OIC. I worked with a population that I didn't typically work with
or experience with, right?
Yeah.
And that has led you to now your full-time entrepreneurship again.
Yep.
And so you are moving to Atlanta from Miami, and you are a full-time entrepreneur with total life choices. Total life changes, which I have here. Vitamins, just all about the healthy body, providing energy, everything totally natural.
Yeah.
And then you just recently went to Vegas, and I'm going a little fast because we're running out of time, but you just recently went to Vegas for the Millionaires Summit, right?
It was our mindset summit, basically. It was a millionaire mindset conference.
And what was the key thing you learned from that?
Yeah, share, because we have a lot of people that.
One of the key things I really learned, and it's amazing, because I was talking with Coach Stormy the night of the dinner, and we were in, if anybody is in multi-level marketing, Eric and Marina Worry. They are like the top network marketers there of any company, making over $250 million a year, right? We were in their home. You get to be in these people's home, talk to them, learn from them. And one thing, Coach Stormy asked me the same thing. She said, so what's your takeaway from this weekend?
Tell us your takeaway, because we have 1 minute. So tell us
my takeaway was, do not forget the law of honor. Honor is everything. You have to honor your parents, honor yourself, honor your mentors, honor your hopes and your dreams. Do not forget to honor, because honor can get you into doors that your knowledge may never be able to get you into.
Girl, say that again.
Say it one more time.
Yeah,
did y'all hear that?
It's true.
Say it one more time.
Honor can get you into doors that your knowledge may never be able to get you into.
And keep those doors open.
Yes. And it keeps them open. And for me, I am the one who is like, if I have to serve my way, pay my way, or earn my way, I'm going, and I'm bringing an army with me.
Girl, you better come through with that tenacity.
So you're bringing people along. You're climbing and helping people along as you go.
Yes, that's what it's about.
Now, before we close out the show, we want to guard your genius tip on what happens when you have to go back into the workforce. How do you protect your brand in the meantime? Because there are a lot of people who have to put their business on the side to get things done for their family during this pandemic. So how do they guard their brand while going back into the workforce, or switching to focus on something else, whether it's health or anything?
Yeah, so one of the ways that I think about that is with this quote that as entrepreneurs, we shouldn't let excitement overshadow our strategy and our plan, right? So when we jump into betting on ourselves, we should make sure that we are creating, legal structures and legal foundations, so that, like you did when you had to step away, that, if it's an LLC or it's a nonprofit, it's already legally established, right? That you have put in place the contracts that will govern your relationships with third-party vendors, with your employees. So you've created this solid foundation that when you have to walk away, you're not in fear of losing it, right? Because it's standing on its own until you figure out what you need to do. So often we're driven by excitement and by the moment, right?
But it's a creativity over legalities,
right?
Yes.
And then we run into that situation where, well,
we're not getting paid for something we created.
Exactly.
You have all these songs. I heard TD Jakes once say that "Oh Happy Day" makes so much money, but the people who wrote that song do not have the rights to the song.
I didn't know that.
So they're not making the money off of it. How crazy is that?
Wow.
So thank you to our certified Empress, Nady, for giving us your Guard Your Genius tip. Remember to put legalities over creativity. That way, when you take a break from your brand, or if you have to focus on something else for a certain period of time, you will still have opportunities to come back to your brand. Thank you to our today's Jackie, Dr. Dashia Andrews. Thank you for telling us not to be afraid to start over.
I feel so inspired.
With honor. So yes, I feel inspired. And if you want to continue to feel inspired, follow us at Enterprise Empress. And check us out every other Friday on Miami Community Newspapers. You can also subscribe to our YouTube, Enterprise Empress. And email us, DM us. Let us know what you want to hear us talk about. Because again, we're not influencers, we're engagers. So Empresses, wear your crown and wear it well, because we see you. Bye.